Hi there. Before we begin, don't forget to press the subscribe and like button to get the latest on our show. Now, while some countries have taken the bold step in restarting their football leagues, when will football in Malaysia resume? To answer all that and more, Stuart Ramalingam, the FAM General Secretary, is in the hot seat right here on the RSS with HD. Hi, welcome to the show with myself, Rashid, Salleh and Harish Still. Firstly, we'd like to thank Amnig as our local apparel sponsor. Now, we're going to get straight into the business of football because we've got a very special guest on with us. He's the FAM General Secretary. Hi, Stuart. Welcome to our show. You're going to have a lot of hard questions, and I'm going to let Harish do all of it because if I open my mouth, everyone will get in trouble.
I thought when I open my... Well, anyway, Stuart, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, man, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's dive into the topics here. And naturally, fans, stakeholders, everyone involved in football in Malaysia would like to know, what's next for the Amnig, because following the COVID-19 pandemic, leagues around the world have been disrupted. Some leagues are starting. They're resuming. However, in Malaysia, we don't seem to have any form of indication. I mean, there are dates, there are months suggested, but there's nothing confirmed. Could you kindly let us know where are we at the moment?
Thanks, Harish. Good question. I think on behalf of the stakeholders, I just want to make sure that I identify the answer from a process standpoint. So as FAM, as a governing body, we will have to take lead in the conversations that we have with government at the moment. And as you say, there's a lot of different decisions being made overseas. So some leagues have cancelled, some leagues are postponed indefinitely, and there are some leagues that are restarting in countries that probably the pandemic was a lot worse than ours. So we are encouraged by the restart of Korea and yesterday the restart of Germany. In our conversations with the ministry, which we are guided by, this is not a football issue at the moment, it's a national issue. And we're very sensitive with the communication that we come out with, but also the process that we've taken. We don't want there for it to be a wrong opinion of what FAM is trying to do. We're not trying to go against government. We're not trying to go against the fact that health is priority. Football is second in this pandemic. But nevertheless, as the governing body, we have to champion the sport. If not us, who else? The sport is an industry. It's not merely a recreational sport. And because of that, FAM and MFL play a big role to ensure that we do what is necessary and push the envelope or push the topic as far as we can go for the competition to proceed or to carry on if we can. A few weeks ago, we saw some indication of a red light to the league restarting again. And we are thankful that the decisions that have come forward following that statement was that we are at a yellow light now, right? So in June, we will review the status of cases, the local pandemic, the SOPs that have been put in place. It's lucky that we are also having a bit of time to navigate through this uncharted territory, because we are learning from Korea, we are also learning from Germany. We have created a SOP internal. It's a two-prong SOP. The first part of the SOP is a back to football SOP, which is back to training. So once the MCO or the PKPB is lifted and there can be football training to start, we already created an SOP of indication of safe and secure training principles and protocols that the clubs need to implement. And then following that, we have phase 2, which is back to match. The back match SOPs actually have an indication about 10 to 12 steps on social distancing, on minimal staff or LOC within a stadium, the guidelines through a match operation. So we've created these two documents, which we have also submitted to the government, and we will review this again in June, following the processes that have been put in place, and keadaan semasa in June, when we can make a decision on restarting in September.
Okay, Stuart, you mentioned earlier about a red light, and I think you're being diplomatic here, but I will say it out loud, whereby it was the senior minister who a question was posed to him, and Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob actually went on record to say that no, the contact sports. Now, I believe that that was said at that material time simply because it was following the National Security Council's list that prohibits, among others, sports like football, hockey, and even rugby, contact sports. Now, but that same week, FAM had talks with the Youth and Sports Ministry. Could you kindly elaborate what happened? Because I believe that through that meeting, the Youth and Sports Ministry was supposed to propose certain things to the National Security Council, which is MKN, to which they would then decide and allow football or at least training to begin. Could you kindly shed some light?
I think the question was asked in a forum that probably a question of sport should not have been. Yeah. So in a national pandemic, and when you have a press conference like that, I think this was a left field sort of question, and probably at a timing when the meetings did not take place yet. We had a meeting with KBS. KBS would submit the proposals that we have to MKN, and I believe it was a matter of discrepancy of a day or two between when the question was posted, and then following that a few days later, when the statement was made that we will review this again. Yeah. So I believe it was a question of timing rather than anything further. But I have to say, if put the minister on the spot with a question like that, his response is absolutely right, because that point of time, the SOP by MKN was no mass gathering, no sports, no social activities. And actually, the review of when FAM was going to propose these new SOPs was in the releasing of the MCO in the PKPB period, when the new SOPs were being put in place. So I believe, in a matter of time, we have no problem with the feedback that was provided by the senior minister. We actually support the response that was provided to him, because that was the decision at that point of time.
Okay, Stuart, now I need to ask you this. Yeah, the FAM is quite eager to start to resume the M League for obvious reasons. I mean, it's an industry, to satisfy the sponsors, to get the game going as well. However, the players, you would have read that players from developed nations are quite skeptical about getting back playing, the league or resuming the league. But here in Malaysia, I believe a lot of the players are quite eager to get back. I believe it's more of the monetary concerns rather than anything else. So my question to you is that are our footballers genuinely ready for the M League? Because is it more of a motivation or a drive because they need the wages, or is it because they are truly ready to embrace the M League again, given the fact that they've rested for far too long? And we don't know whether they've been adhering to any training program, especially so when you read a lot of reports of them being fishermen, selling, cookies and stuff like that. No disrespect to them, they have to put food on the table, but are they truly ready for the M League to resume?
We'll never resume the M League if we as the larger community, the industry is not ready. Yeah. In certain developed nations, I believe if we refer to England as an example, money is no object to these players. So we can't compare an apple to an apple. Football player here, football player there. Yeah. But on top of that, if you compare the extent of the pandemic in the UK or in England compared to the extent of the pandemic in Malaysia, I believe KKM and MKN have done a tremendous job to keep the numbers where they are now. We are all aware that with the release of the MCO that we see now, there may be pop-ups of new clusters, and we are also observing that, hence why the plan for it to be in September. so we can see where the release of the MCO happens, how the progression will be over time. And as I tell the people in my office as well, and as I speak to everybody here, the result of us going back to football is in our hands. If we can stick to the SOPs and the guidelines that are in place, we should be okay for September, which is quite some distance away. So we still have some breathing space. We still have some space to observe what the current situation will escalate to. And hopefully by end of June or by mid-June, we'll be able to make a decision for September with more informed protocols, more informed facts from government, and also a lot more confidence within the community that we are ready.
Okay, and the decision to allow the M-League to go on will also impact grassroots football, because if the M-League continues, I'm sure this will give some form of indication that grassroots football will also continue. Your thoughts about this?
The face of the industry is always seen as the M-League, which is sad, but it's true. Yeah, but really the impact of football felt is not merely on grassroots, but social football, state league football, corporate facilities, futsal centers that really don't have any form of business now. So the impact across the pandemic onto the larger football community is huge. Grassroots is a major concern for us. Now we're talking internally of how to restart, because the last thing we want to do is put children in a space of risk. We have to also separate the decisions of two. One is a professional industry that drives an economy, and one is a social and a sporting drive of development. One can take pause to another, and risk is higher for another group. In this, we will never risk the health of our children and the coaches in an environment where it's harder to put an SOP together. In a football academy, in social leagues, social distancing, sanitization, COVID tests is impossible to do, because these are non-controlled environments. Yes. Within a professional league, there are a lot easier SOPs that you can put in place. We are monitoring this, and amongst the direction that we are also trying to champion is the space of social and amateur football, space of grassroots development, but also our coaching and development programs that we are stuck now till hopefully September, when things are lifted and we can see progress in that again. Too early for me to give an indication what can happen. Again, this is out of our hands, but we'll work very closely with the government to ensure when we talk about pro football, we talk about amateur and social and grassroots at the same time.
Sorry, okay. I'd like to wade in quickly. You mentioned just now September. Why that certain month? Why is September an important month in terms of getting things up and running?
Thanks, Rashid. The window of September was to give breathing space and time to the pandemic that we're facing, because with the MCO that is being extended to June, and we know that the PKBB, or the conditional MCO, being extended to June, we know that immediately after June there will probably be more restrictions that will be put in place. We wouldn't allow still contact sport, indoor sport to happen. Taking into account, and predicting what's happening, the last thing FAM wanted to do was set 30th May, 30th June, 30th July. We will become a bit of a laughing stock in terms of constantly moving the deadline. Here we want to ensure that the September is a do or die. It's September or nothing, because that's as far as we can push it. If the government in July says, hey guys, by the way, we can restart in August, fantastic, we're ready to move. But September is our last date. It's September or nothing after that.
Okay, thank you.
Do or die. So Rashid, do you think that we can end this show by getting Stuart to answer some quick questions?
Oh yes, wonderful.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to this bit, because it's usually, we've only done it once prior to this, and you're actually the second person to go through our quizzes.
Yes, Dr. Ramlan did this. So yeah, it was quite fun. Anyway, Stuart, in spirit of sportsmanship, so all you have to do is just choose either or, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
man.
so I'll start with this. So, would you prefer to be in a suit and tie, or a cool T-shirt with drawstring pants?
Cool T-shirt with drawstring pants. That's what I'm currently using under the jacket.
Okay, delicious nasi lemak or a wholesome big breakfast?
Nasi lemak.
You're a bad diet, like you. Anyway, rock star or surfer dude?
Oh, rockstar.
Okay, Datuk Hamidin or TMJ?
Dato' Hamidin.
Oh, okay.
What a question, Harry. Dato' Hamidin's my boss.
The last one is always the clincher. Love it. Okay, well, you know what? Thank you very much, Stuart, for being on our show. It's been quite a pleasure having you here. I'm sure there are lots more questions that people out there would have, but hopefully we'll do this live and bring you back on as a guest. But thank you very much for giving your time to speak to us on the RSS with HD.
Sure, thanks guys. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
All right, and for those of you watching, do leave your comments. Of course, subscribe and like our page. And if you do have any other burning questions you want to ask Stuart, leave it on our comments page, and we'll hopefully send it to him and see whether he can answer those as well. But from us here at the RSS with HD, it's been a really good show. Thank you, and watch us again next time. Bye-bye.